The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
How y'all doing today? I'm your host, Nate, here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on beexposedradio.com. Let me just share it out a little. I don't know who to send it to. Okay, I'm back. So today's topic, what did I say? I forgot the damn topic that damn fast. What did I say about it? So anyway, before we get to the topic, I'm going to discuss just some things that's been going on in the past week. One, we're nearing opening night of the You Thought I Was Him project, and that is going pretty well. I am really excited about all the things that's been happening in association with it. If you have not gotten a chance to, you can go to Facebook or Instagram to the You Thought I Was Him page on either Facebook or Instagram and check out the process up until this point and see what the latest news on it is. We have we're going into the final week of rehearsal, and then we'll be in production week for it. We have a couple preview shows, and then we open officially on the 11th, Friday the 11th. It's going to be held at the Arena Playhouse. And if anybody has ever done a play, you know what type of stress it can be, making sure you've done all you can do. Right now, my job is really promoting it and pushing it, and I'm doing that. We'll have an art show component to this, so come on out. Opening night, get your tickets for opening night. It's definitely going to be a party. We just got the DJ's name and information. There'll be a reception, I believe, afterwards. I'm before and after actually. We'll have some vendors, some artists, a DJ. Yeah, and it runs from the 11th to the 27th. And I'm really excited about it. What else? What else going on with that? Next Friday we'll have more of the actors on. We don't have them on this weekend, but we'll have them on for next weekend. If you are watching the show, please share it out. And if you're looking for any other shows, you can go to the Artist Exchange page or Big Exposed Radio Shows page on YouTube and watch some past shows. But tonight, well, for the past week, I've been posting a couple posts, and I want people who keep inboxing me. First of all, I can say whatever I want to say on my social media page because it's my social media. And typically, it's not so much that the things that I talk about are not personal. It's more so experiences that I've had indirectly or directly. Meaning, I may have seen something, I've heard something, I may have had a conversation. I talk to a lot of people throughout the week, so sometimes certain issues come up, and I post about them. And I'm not heavy on social media that way in terms of me talking, but I'll comment on things. One of the things that I've noticed is that there's big gaps in between the generations ahead of me and the generations behind me. And I feel like I'm in that special generation of millennials where um, the only way I know how to explain it, DDM, we had a meeting, a community conversation with him, and he says our generation is um, stuck between analog and digital. And we remember what it was like not to have all of this technology, but we also are at the opening door of all of this technology coming up. So many of us were kind of the first ones to try things out at our age range. I remember um, being able to play on a computer when I was like a preteen, and then you start to learn phones and gaming consoles and all those things. But there was a time where a lot of this technology was not, it wasn't as accessible. I remember as late as high school for me. I think I got my first phone when I probably was a junior. Um, and it was really, very limited. You couldn't text at first for a couple years. Once cell phones became more accessible, you couldn't text. Um, I want to say, could you get on the internet? I don't know if you could even get on the internet on the phone, but I know texting was like a new thing. But now me looking at my phone and seeing all that it can do, you can run a business from anywhere in the world, just with a phone, and it's really interesting to see where we are going with technology. But I say all that to say, I think there's a big gap in our generations, and I say that in the space of respect. Even people that are my age, I see them struggling rather with how they respect people. So we've learned to respect people because they have what they have or what they may not have. Um, and it's really hard relating to people in my age range. So typically, the people who I have deeper conversations with are typically much older than me, because they have a certain level of understanding that I can appreciate, being as though how I was raised. And how I was raised was with a great grandmother that was in her 80s in my household, and then a grandmother, and my mother was younger, but it still she still had the wisdom because she was always under her grandmother, who was my great grandmother. And it really just it's frustrating at times, but it's so hurtful at times as well to understand how the dynamics between older and younger generations are. This idea that we always got to be booked and busy, um, with no real respect to the moment that you're in. So we put all these things on our plate, and we're still looking for more opportunities and more money, and we're not focusing on the things right in front of us. And I think that is so detrimental to our legacy, even though you can't really in the moment in time to determine your legacy. I think it really affects our integrity, our legacy, and just our overall well-being, because I don't know who raised some of you. Like it just and one of the things that kept coming up in this "You Thought I Was Him" project that we've been doing for the past year was the absence of mentorship. And not that mentorship is off the table completely, but I think now the individuals that get the mentorship are already on a great course in life. Um, is no longer to help support and guide and be an extended leadership space for, and I said that wrong, extended like family or extended guidance, but now it's for the higher achievers that are already achieving high, whereas though some of the other students that may just need a little bit more guidance, they kind of fall through the crack. And I wonder why, I always wonder why young people react to even somebody my age the way they do, and it's because they have not had the support or the consistency. Not saying they haven't had it at all, but they haven't had the support. And when they do get the support, they're sitting in a principal's office, or they're sitting in a detention center, or they're sitting in a special classroom. Um, and that's often not too late, but it's too late. They already have a mindset. They already have a way of thinking. They already have, that often follows us as young people into our adult life. And it's really hard to break habits as an adult that you've had since a child, you know, whether it be your eating habits or um, promiscuity or um, just your attitude. It's hard to break habits that you develop as a child because it's in you. It becomes a way of your way of living, surviving often. And I don't know how to, and I've been, you know, I've done little mentorship programs. I've worked for programs like that. I've been a part of it as a child myself. So I've always wanted to recreate those things that I had as a child. And I've been for years looking back over that process and figuring out what worked and what didn't work and what could be successful and what may not be helpful. And it's really been a sad space to be in because you don't know um, really what each one of these children need, even to get personal with them and sit on their level and talk to them. A lot of them aren't willing to share the things that are really going on, and it's maybe embarrassment, maybe fear, maybe just I don't know what's going on. And I've met a lot of young people who have had that answer. They don't know what's happening. And I remember a phase in my life before I had some trauma, um, feeling like something was wrong and not understanding what's wrong. And I think we should talk more to children, but there's a verbiage and a mindset that's being introduced to children, meaning they can't learn from somebody they don't respect or love. And although I understand love and respect is something that you earn, I don't believe you can start off not trusting or start off not having faith in something. Like, how do you develop that, or how is it taken away from you? Because me being a child, and then a lot of children around me, unless something happens to them at a really young age, you weren't born into an untrusting state of mind. That's something that was put into you, and it's based off of fear that someone has passed down. And I was watching this old interview with Kiki Palmer, and she was basically saying fear is a lie. It's something that has been given to you or put into you or trained in you. Um, Typically, you're not afraid of stuff that you don't have any knowledge of. Is that makes you more adventurous, and that's what the childhood is. But being in the classroom, I've learned that a lot of these children have not had normal or quote unquote normal childhoods in terms of they may be treated like an adult at home. There may be some neglect or inappropriateness happen at home, and it's very sad to hear. It's hurt. It's sad to know that generate now is maybe two or three generations behind me that are now growing up with this mindset where they can't trust people, or you have to have billions in the bank for you to be listened to, and the people that are in your immediate space aren't worthy of that, and you put people on pedestals that are on a TV screen or on a radio or on a computer that you have no knowledge of beyond what you can, the snippets of their life that they allow you to see. Um, and then when something happens with that person where they're exposed or their whole life is shown in some way or they're put on blast or some controversy happens, then you're ready to just bash them. And that statement comes from a space where um, comes from me saying that right now is me really just watching this Kanye West story unfold, and it's a frustrating thing to be a part of in terms of it being in the social atmosphere and social media and just our social consciousness right now. I don't understand how we can really. There's a lot of things going on, and I don't want to say anything that may make it harder for me, but it really just it bothers me because a lot of what we go through as Black people is at the hands of us as Black people. It also is self-inflicted, i.e., Kanye West not getting the help he needs or not being aware really of the help he needs. And we go from a space where he's always been the oddball out in terms of the underdog, you know, fighting to get to a certain space. And this is what we can see. I don't know this man personally, but it just feels like when the narrative of a person or who a person is fits my narrative, I'm all for him. But the moment he steps outside of that, and I've been saying it for a minute, like if we can keep on one hand saying this man has some strong mental issues and somebody needs to step in, then on the other side, we're calling him out his name and wishing his children get taken away from him and hoping that he loses it all. So we'll be much happier and it'll be funny to us and more comfortable to us to see Kanye West drop all the way down to rock bottom. We find him on somebody's camera phone, eating out of trash cans and not having it. Like, that seems to me as a Black person what us as Black people are more comfortable seeing in other people. We love the rise to fame. We love when the underdog wins, but in the back of our minds, in my opinion, it feels like we're waiting for them to fall. And that fall becomes so funny and entertaining to us, where now there's memes. You know, there's a meme going around where another person has, and Kanye's been taken completely out of it. Now we're just making fun of our own lives using the meme that has been created to make fun of his, where everybody is cutting ties with Kanye, and it at first glance, it can appear to be funny, but when you realize at the end of that is a real man who has real children, who has real family. I don't know how much more family he has. I believe he has a brother, I believe. But, and I'm not taking up for him, but what is so funny about someone's descent from our graces? I don't even think it's grace. I ain't gonna use that term. But what's so funny about it? And I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was saying to him, Kanye is not the first person this has happened to, and he won't be the last person. We love a good rise and fall story, and it's becomes and stuff is just not funny to me right now. We're in a space of time where things aren't funny to me. Stuff that I may have chuckled at or entertained, it's just not funny to me anymore because I'm seeing how people's lives are really being affected by this. Was this the most effective way to get Kanye's attention? Maybe. Maybe him losing everything is what will make him get the help that is needed, or make the people around him finally step in and not just make money from him. On the other side of that, I'm watching all of these companies drop him, not because they believe he's done anything wrong, but because the public opinion for him is at such a low point, they can no longer, or they feel they can no longer make money from him. My prayer for him is that he's able to take this moment and really learn from it and grow from it and get the help that is necessary and come back with a story and make all these people who were laughing at him love him again. Not that that's necessary, because it's gonna happen. Just like we're no longer talking about monkeypox, or we're no longer talking about COVID-19. Same thing is gonna happen, but in the meantime, people have gotten so mean spirited and uncaring and gross. It is a gross behavior from the public at large. Um, the the venom that I hear coming from people's mouth. I was watching Vivica Fox speak about Kanye, and it was such hatred. And I went over the things that he said. And I know a lot of, especially Black people, were upset about the things that he said about what was the gentleman name that passed away? His name just jumped out of my head. Um, a lot of people was upset about the things that he said about him, but they agreed. They kind of secretly agreed with all the stuff that he said about Jewish people. Um, or you know, it's just it's hard for me because it's so easy for us to throw people away, and um, and we wonder why people don't come to us when they're going through things. We wonder why our family members die randomly from some disease that they never even shared with us, because this is how we treat people who are in need. We shy away from things. We don't want your bad vibes around us.
Comment.
Go ahead.
The comment section.
The comment section. Yeah, George Floyd. Thanks, Crystal. But yeah, it hurt. It just hurts me how we, and I get some things, especially if you've suffered from things, or if you may be, in talking about Kanye, if you may be, Jewish, or if in the case of like R. Kelly, if you've been molested or you've been, mishandled, when these cases or when these stories come up, you have a visceral reaction from it, often because you haven't dealt with it in your own life. But on the other side, because you have been victim to it, it forces you to have this instinctual attitude towards it, or the individual, or the group, or whatever. But we really have to, one, begin to get the help that we need. So things that don't have anything to do with us does not trigger us, or people don't trigger us without knowledge of what we've been through. Um, I'm also a little upset at, and this it's hard for me to say some of this stuff. It's hard for me to understand. Maybe I should say it in a different way. We all know the atrocities that the Holocaust has brought to Jewish people. And we hear it, and I'm hearing a lot of these quote unquote Jewish, out of nowhere, a lot of these Jewish individuals, or someone that may have a Jewish parent or partner or husband or child or whatever, um, we hear a lot of them have these conversations, or they're now speaking out against things that he has said, and they have these visceral reactions to it. But where are you when other minorities or other individuals are going through what they've been through? Where are you then? You know, where are you? I would say the same thing to the Asian population, or, you know, the Middle Easterners. Like, where were you when other people, not just Black or LGBTQ, but other races of people that were going through things? It just feels like we're so self-centered in our own struggles that we overlook other things, and when we're triggered and what triggers us, we just jump out there to it. But it's really it is unfortunate. It's unfortunate in many different ways because we don't really take the time. I don't know. It is hard, and I'm looking at it, and I try to follow it, but it's so many different angles of it, so many different opinions or perspectives that it can get hard to kind of follow the story of it all. So um, when I know more, then I'll speak more on it. But just from the space of him losing so much of um, his businesses, you know, it's hard. And then I'm learning other stuff about the organizations that have dropped out. Um, and I don't want to speak on allegations or hearsay information, but it's just interesting, you know, somebody who has brought you so much money, you're so quick to drop somebody when public opinion turns, and public opinion only turns because then they see you doing this. So it's like a cycle that just doesn't end. But I didn't want to spend the whole show speaking on him or his situation. What do you think about it? Definitely, you can give us a call at 443-642-9403. Did I say that right, Monty? 642-9403.
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
I don't know where I pulled that number from, but it just came out of my head. Join the conversation at 443-642-9403, or you can continue to message in the message box. Please share, like, subscribe. Uh, this show, future shows, past shows. Um, I just saw, and it wasn't just this week, but I just saw a lot of things this week that made me pause. Um, and as artists, as Black people, as men, as people of color, as LGBTQ, as I've seen a lot of messiness happen this week, and it just it offends me in a way that, um, like I said earlier, stuff is just not funny to me the same way it was funny to me before, because I'm a humanist. Like I value human connections and people, and it's just when we get into our spaces on our groups and our cliques, and we begin to throw mud, or in some cases, what I've seen in the past couple of months, I've seen people actively from the inside dismantle creativity, dismantle processes, dismantle work environments, dismantle um, relationships from the inside. The phone call definitely has began to come from the inside, and I'm seeing that more and more. You know, how do you join something and you you want to receive something from it, but you don't want to put the work into what will make it its best. Anybody that has ever worked with me in any capacity will always say, well, if nothing else, Nate is going to show up and Nate is going to give whatever he has. Like, it's very few people that can ever say that. And if they said that, it was a reason I didn't give my all. It was a reason I stopped the connection. It was a reason. But everything that I put myself on, I'm very loyal to a fault. And it also often affects me more than the other parties concerned. But I show up. I'm supportive. I'm loyal. I do the things that is asked of me. I bring myself to the table. I don't just wait with my hand out, for a reward for doing nothing. Um, but we complain. I've over for years I've heard the complaints. I've heard the um list of demands and all that about people not supporting us as Black people. Then I watch us work with each other and I realize where the support leads or when it goes or how it goes or why it goes. And it's just disheartening, and I'm not, again, even on the side of talking about Kanye, I'm not um, taking up for his actions, but I'm also not going to bash him for having mental struggles that are not being taken care of. I refuse to do that. I have too many Black men in my family who I know at some too early point, someone took their hands and their love and their compassion off of them, and what effect that may have on them. And going into their, you know, future. Now, I always speak about my uncles on this platform, more not necessarily because I don't deal with the women or my aunts, but I've watched each of them. I've watched people take their hands off of them at too young of an age, and I've seen them grow up into men, and I've seen how that affected them. I've also been introduced to other men and other children, boys specifically, and I've watched people take their hands off of them, or use them for what they could get, and then when it's nothing left, then they just leave. But this show is just it's sad. And I thought this pandemic would really show us something different. I thought that this pandemic would change us in a way, because many of us, we've lost so many people to COVID, to complications from COVID and other illnesses. Um, I was talking to uh, a friend of mine. I was talking to his mom today, and it made me remember him. He passed away during COVID, and it's when you lose an elders, it hurts because you never thought they would have left or passed away. But when you're losing people that are much younger than you, children, young adults, it hurts in a different way, because you mourn for the life that they were not able to live. You mourn for the time you wasted with that person. You mourn for, the people who won't get to meet that person or work with that person or experience that person the way you've been blessed to. Um, and in talking to his mom, it just jogged a lot of and I didn't know what to say. This is the first time I've ever spoken to her on the phone, and hearing her talk about him and people around him, it just made me realize, what I need to do for me moving forward, what what I want out of life, what I desire. It just made me want life more. You know, um, the life cycle is very unpredictable, as we all know it, but it's been very unpredictable in the last couple of years, due to this virus or flu or whatever. Um, but we still are in a space where we don't respect each other. We don't value each other. And I had a couple questions. Um, and I'm jumping ahead here, but what are your boundaries? What do you see as a boundary? What do you see as um, how do you set boundaries in your various relationships, whether it be friendships, your romantic relationships, your co-working relationships, just strangers, people you just meet? How do you set those boundaries? And that's kind of the question that I'm gonna go into next week with as well. But I wanted to throw that out there today. So if you want to comment, definitely, um, definitely chime in, call in, comment. How do you set boundaries in your different types of relationships? Do you have standard boundaries across boards? Does it determine who the person is, how close they are, their relationship to you? Like what? How do you set those boundaries? Um, I also wanted to. I also wanted to. It, I'm telling you, this week it's been hard, and just watching how people work, watching the attitudes of other people, watching people um, set themselves up, set the people around them up without even, um, with little to no concern about how that affects people. Um, and I'm not here disputing any person, man, woman, or child, that has done something to affect um, someone else's livelihood, someone else's life. Um, not defending it at all. But we have no, like, I remember there used to be some, when someone passed away, that was a moment where we would find the good. Even though some people you had to search a little bit harder, but even the worst of humans, you would find something, or you wouldn't say anything. Now that's the door opens to all of the berating, all of the negativity. Soon as you pronounce dead, there's this list of, well, this person did da 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 and that person, and even before they die, like soon as something happens, we've grown into a space where not only will I pile on the stuff you've done in life, from my perspective, but I'm gonna make up something. And I hear this every time somebody falls from grace. I ain't really like them to begin with. How did he become a billionaire then? If nobody dealt with him, nobody really liked him, how did he become so wealthy? It wasn't all Republicans in the beginning up until this point. But that's just the space that I'm in. One of the reasons that I'm working on this You Thought I Was Him project, as I said before, a lot of issues along these lines, we bring them up in terms of identity, um, you know, um, relationships, communication, and our community conversations really address a lot of these issues. Toxic behavior, toxic relationships, and not just all from men, but just what surrounds us. You know, there are a lot of expectations put on men. And I said earlier, expectations are horrible. They're really horrible because it's our way of putting our stuff onto you, often without even communicating with you what my uh, boundaries are. But I don't know. I'm gonna kind of switch topics a little bit, but we're in the midst of voting season. Monty, have you voted yet? Did you early vote, or are you gonna go to the polls and vote? Is my mic on? Oh yeah, yeah. Monty must have took a little break. Um, but I'm still doing some research on some of the candidates that we do have coming up, and I'm kind of doing that while still following some of the elections in other states as well, and seeing what we're up to be. I couldn't imagine living in a state like Florida, um, or even Georgia for this moment, and have to deal with some of the candidates that we have right now. I just watched a debate. I think that's DeSantis. I just watched a debate with him, and him defend almost criminalizing um, the teaching of history in this thing that now seems to come up in every election period, critical race theory and how we're being erased, which connects to what I was saying before. We don't even need that type of person to exist because it's often, and I can't even really say they're using us to, fit their agendas or carry out their agendas because it feels like we're happy to do so with each other. Um, but I'm not really happy with the candidates that we have or the people that are on the ballot here in Baltimore. Yeah, because it feels like if I get up and I do my civic responsibility and I vote and I follow the not only the election but their term for whomever wins, it's still not enough because there's not enough people that are staying active and not just on because I can't even say people are well, we've seen some record numbers of people since Obama has been put into office. However, um, I, let, I need for us to not just be active as we talk about the election, leading up to the election, or just election day, but we really need people to um, be active throughout the process. And it's just really hard watching, our cities go through the um changes that we're going through. I am um trying to decide, a different a moving within the next couple months. And I'm trying to decide, what does that look like for me? Do I want to stay here in Baltimore? Do I want to move? Do I want to move to a different side of town? Like what is it that I want? And that decision is being, you know, um, distracted by the cost of living, in my city, in cities like this. Like, what does it cost you to live? What does it cost you to um, survive day to day? And I'm an artist, an educator, a person an entrepreneur. So it feels harder for me, you know, because I have to get out there and I do work that is considered entertainment for people and not necessarily a necessity. Um, and I was shown that through the pandemic, but thanks to, our mayor here in Baltimore and a lot of the leadership and a lot of organizations that are fighting for people like myself, it still doesn't feel like it's enough because there's a lot of red tape and even getting those resources and those opportunities. Um, but yeah, I feel a little off today. Um, one, because my partner isn't here. Believe will be back next week. He's not going to be here for the day, but um, I just watched a lot of ugly stuff happen this week. I was sitting in meetings this week, and I'll say the last couple of weeks really, sitting in meetings, having personal conversations, one-on-one conversations, going to some events, and I just saw a lot of ugliness. And I also hear and see you all complain on social media about the very stuff that I watch a lot of you doing. I see Chastity has joined the conversation. Hey, Chastity. Um, and I rarely am in moods like this. I do a lot of spectating So I watch people a lot. But this last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of ugliness um, come, and I'm still in a deciding phase on what I want to do in terms of continuing on with the educational system, and even I can never not be an artist, but trying to decide where I want to be at and where do I want to put my focus in the artist, because even within that on the entrepreneurial space, I'm seeing a lot of self-hate amongst um, individuals. I'm seeing that translates and gets pushed on to how they treat other people. I'm watching a lot of gatekeeping. I think I made a statement about gatekeeping this week on social media, and just trying to just figure out, you know, really identify myself. And I'm in a special situation. I'll be 40 in less than a year, and certain benchmark ages force you to kind of sit back. For me it was 29, then 30, then 35, and now 40 is one of those spaces for me as well. And just trying to figure out what I want, looking at where my life is and determine what I want for life, and really just mapping out things. And it's a little difficult. It's difficult for a few reasons. Um, I love to plan, but I allowed my artistry to be very free forming, and my business structuring that now. So I'm at a space where now I'm putting a lot more structure into the business side of what I want to do, and making a lot of decisions based off of that, and less about just the creative process. And it's really helping me to explore and maintain a different perspective. Um, and one of the things that I feel like I'm missing, not totally, but a big part of that, was a lot of the elders that I had at one point. Either they passed away or we're not as connected as we used to. And I'm blessed to have some of them around me. But that level of mentorship, I've been seeking that out in the last 2 years, really, in a different way than I have previously. You know, um, but again, figuring that out for me, because I see that elder situation be such a important factor in what I'm doing. Um, and I think for me, because I grew up with an elder, um, it's a space that needs to be filled in my life. Not that I need anybody to move or just move, but having that level of wisdom around you really makes a difference. You see that many success stories include that type of wisdom around them, and figuring that out, or having that level of wisdom around you. Not to say that's the only way, but for me, that's an important factor. So I always try to keep people around me who have been there, done that, because it matters to me. Not that it necessarily prevents me from making mistakes or having struggles, but it definitely makes a difference when you are going through those struggles, when you are, at weird spaces like this. So I have a lot of 40 something, 50 something connections with people, and it matters to me. I have a lot that I bring to the table, um, with even those individuals. I have a certain level of understanding and wisdom that I share with them, and I'm always open to what people have to say or what advice people give. I've never been that young person that just ignored it. I had times when, you know, I would go back and forth with it, meaning I question a lot of stuff because I can see people's intentions, and I'm learning not to focus on intention, be aware of it, understand it, know what it looks like, but not be so focused on it that I can't hear the message. You know, I talk to a lot of people about figuring out the messenger versus the message. The message is what you're there for. The messenger is just the person that carries that message, and that person can often be the least likeliest person or the person you would least likely listen to, but figure out a way to listen. Um, and it's been very helpful to me in various parts of my life because I've been able to uh, listen and hear and take in and take what I need and let the rest, fall off to the side. Um, but so my mood is really mellow today, and I understand where I'm at, but it really does affect me when I see people purposely treating people wrong or wrongfully treating people a certain way because you feel like they can't offer you anything. And every day this week, I kind of posted something um, along the lines of what I'm talking about today. So it really just, it matters to me. It really does. Um, Last weekend, I was able to go to a couple of events. I'm connected to the Black Arts District here in Baltimore, and I was able to go to a couple things for them this past week, and this other networking events that I went to, and just people watching is very interesting to me. Um, it's just interesting to me because I don't know. I don't typically go out to those types of things, and I don't participate typically. But just putting myself up in that space and showing up for the things that I say I wanted is very important to me. I said that last week too. Um, so just a couple questions for you all, based off some stuff that I've been talking about, based off some thoughts that I've been having. But I'm really interested into what are your boundaries? That's a real big question for me. I'm really interested in hearing what people have to say and what thoughts they may have on that. But what are your boundaries? How do you determine your boundaries? Have you determined those boundaries? Um, I've been saying forever I'm gonna start writing for the blog that's on beexposedradio.com. Um, but I get stuck in what I want to put out there and how I want to, because even the structure of this show is in a, not necessarily in a gray space, but it's kind of transitioning into more of self-awareness, self-care, um, self-realization type of platform. Um, And I love talking to artists. I love interviewing entrepreneurs and community leaders. However, I want more meaningful conversations and not simply what we're pushing. Um, and that determines the types of events and productions that I take part in. The reason I'm been with this project is because I was able to see it at its conception
I'm
to
here, by the
where
way.
we
I
are
was
now.
on the phone.
You said what?
I said, I'm here, by the way. I was on the phone.
I can't. Are you voting? Have you voted already?
I have not voted yet. I have to wait till I get my new printer cartridge. It's okay.
Your new what?
A new printer cartridge.
Okay. What do you mean a new printer cartridge?
I
What
have
do
to
you
print my ballot. I do. I do.
Oh, you have to print it out. Oh, okay. So you can't.
My
Or you
printer is getting all my
you
stuff.
can mail us out one. Do they mail them out anymore, or that's just for the general election?
They're mailing them to people, I think, by age group, above a certain age group. But no, mostly they tell you you have to do it online. If you want to participate in mail-in ballots, you have to register online. You have to already be registered and then select how you want to do it. Like when you receive the email, it gives you two options to print out the ballot and take it to a ballot box, or put it in the mail. But the mail part is that when they do it through the mail, they actually have to rewrite your ballot, which is, some people don't trust that, but it's a receipt process with it.
I don't even know, and maybe because I don't watch the news the way I normally do, but was researching like who's on the ballot. I just got, how they send you out your sample ballot, and just looking over that and researching who's on the ballot and what they're voting on. And this is kind of like an in-between election, so it's not as many people to, look at. But I'm really not satisfied. I don't feel satisfied with who's on the ballot. Is it anybody that you are focused on, or for sure you want to vote for? Well.
Did you just ask me a question again?
No, I said, is there anybody you are looking at voting for?
Just Westmore. Westmore, Quiezy.
I'm was focused more on well, I'm not saying in terms of your answer, but I know the person that I'm more focused on are the state's attorneys.
Well, it's only one of them, so Ivan.
Yeah, but he's running against someone.
No. Yeah, Ivan is the state's attorney. Anthony Brown is the attorney general.
I don't. This election.
No, it's only him on the ballot for state's attorney.
Doesn't he have a Republican opponent? Or you mean in terms of a Democratic candidate?
No, my ballot is only Ivan. I guess the other person dropped out because I wrote. I didn't vote for him.
Oh, okay.
I wrote in Marilyn Mosby.
Yeah, that was my solution, because I don't really see anybody else. It's interesting. I went to an event this weekend, the end of this week, and I saw a lot of politicians there. Larry Young had a 25th anniversary gala, and I saw a lot of. I sent you the picture of your girl who I saw, and I was just saying, like, all these people who claimed that they wanted to do so much for our city, and I'm sure other people are thinking the same thing, depending on where they live. But I just saw so many people there who just made false promises, and they're living, they living it up. Like their livelihood or their lives have not changed the way their city has. And I think that's why I'm kind of in a not so good mood, because I just saw a lot of them at this gala, and they looked like nothing. You can't really see any people's personal lives or their funding, but it just looked like their lives had not been altered. But then when you come out into the city and you talk to people who have lost jobs, or people who are struggling to be able to afford things because everything from rent to the price of bread has gone up, and you don't see these people affected by any of that, well, outwardly looking at it, because you don't know what people's home lives are like. Um, but I saw your girl Pew, and it don't look like their lives have changed. Not that I want them to be homeless or looking like they strung out on something, but just the fact that the promises that they made to our citizens and going into another election period, um, their livelihoods, their lives, their quality of life doesn't feel as affected as the citizens of their city is. The long-term citizens of the city has, whether it be business owners, whether it be, the community members who are being priced out of their homes because of gentrification. Um, yeah, I don't. It's weird, but that seeing a lot of them together, um, even seeing Larry Young, it just feels weird. Um, because a lot of them have played the politics games and kept their pockets and quality of life healthy. Um, and a lot of the citizens of the city are struggling because of that. Even the wealthier people are having to hold on to their money a little bit tighter. Um, just trying to figure things out right now. Um, and there's a lot. So politics is definitely stressful. Um, Making a decision about my connection to the educational system is very stressful because it's something that I've loved, something I've done for years, and something that I'm having to make a choice to leave, um, and not feeling like, even though now they're moving to, so our school board here, a portion of the school board will be elected by um, a body of people now versus people just internally being hired, um, which sounds like a good idea, but it also sounds like another political move, that at the end of the day, the citizens, and in this case, the children, will suffer from. Um, Looking at the cost of living, like what things, I walked through the market up there, I was going grocery shopping, and I was just looking at the price of everything. And it just felt like everything is like 3 times the price it was at one point. Before we went live, I guess Marnie was talking about ordering out and just, how the price adds up. And I was agreeing with him because just the cost of stuff, it feels, you know, and I know we've been through recessions before, but this one feels different. This one feels planned. It feels on purpose. It feels friend of mine, she's opened up a restaurant, and she was asking me, about marketing, and I started asking her questions about the business to help her with the marketing side. And she was lost on a couple different avenues. So I suggested someone that could help her kind of set prices, and that person gave her some advice that was just ridiculous, because the people that is intending to be her clientele can't afford to eat there. And if those people that you intend to be your customers can't afford it, that means you have to market to people who can afford it. And those people aren't going to want to come to your space because it's in a certain neighborhood. So how do you balance that out with prices that allow you to be successful while still not price gouging or outpricing people who will come and support you. Um, I was walking through the market as to finish that story. I was walking through the market and I was looking at a lot of the items and I was noticing that the items that prices have not changed as much, the size of it changed. So soda bottles, um, some like detergents, food containers have gotten smaller, even though they some of the prices kind of got boosted up, but not as much. And those items seem like they've shrunk them in size. Like manufacturer shrunk the size of a bottle. Because I used to get this one brand of detergent because my skin is so sensitive. I have to use I have a couple ones that I've used, just in case, they don't have this one. I found other brands that I could use. And I just noticed that their bottles have gotten smaller because at first the prices for them went up, but then the prices have not gone up anymore, but the bottles have definitely gotten smaller. So what I was paying for, the size I was paying for got smaller. And you look at the ounces on it, and you can tell they got less ounces in the bottle, but the prices have gone up. So, and everything's being blamed on shipping and manufacturing prices, and just trying to figure out when does this end. And everybody is selling you on something. Everybody has a tip component to their business, and it just feels weird to say the least. But I don't know. I just feel like my mood is this in a weird space, trying to be a creator, trying to be an entrepreneur at a time where everything is overpriced, um, and nobody wants to pay the price. So being an entrepreneur can be difficult in setting prices, and I'm on a couple different platforms where I'm selling to people as well as selling services and products to people, and that becomes very difficult maintaining. Luckily, here at Be Exposed, we've been able to pivot to a virtual platform, so that doesn't mean Be Exposed is paying for a space and a lot of overhead, but it still becomes difficult because it feels like every market is oversaturated with people now because so many people started businesses. I know so many people started podcasts and started radio stations because it's something they always wanted to do and they had the time and the extra cash to be able to do so, so they did it. But I'm definitely just in a space of trying to figure out, what I want and what's next. 40, as I said earlier, trying to decide, um what 40 plus will look like for me in terms of what I want, in terms of my goals, in terms of where I want to live, relationships, boundaries. Every year I try to write down a list of goals. Um, and I normally started thinking about it around this year because my birthday's um, in kind of it's in somewhat in the middle, beginning of the year. So it's in May. So I started thinking about it now because I'm not big on New Year's resolutions. So I started implementing things that I want next year for this year. So, the way my, business looks, if you can see, you'll start seeing things getting more fine tuned towards the end of the year. Because now I'm thinking about what I want next year versus what I wanted last year and what I applied. So things start getting fine tuned. Um, I start thinking of challenges for myself versus just a list of goals, but more so challenges. You know, this year I've been really focused on my a website and what that's looked like, and it's taken so long because um, I want more. I want more, but I also want to challenge myself and scare myself into achieving. If you're watching, please join the conversation 443-642-9403. Um, yeah, I want more, and I want more in a different way, not just quantity, but the quality of what more means. Um, I'm starting to really research um, the products that I use and trying to figure out maybe Black uh, owners, shop owners, or manufacturers that produce those things. I'm showing up more in the spaces that I want to be in. Um, I'm trying my hardest to support everybody around me that's working and that's going after things. Um, I'm taking the time to learn more while doing more. Meaning, I've some of the stuff that I'm most comfortable with, I've taken a back seat, not necessarily stopped doing that thing, but I'm doing it from a different perspective. Um, Instead of me being on stage, let me do something behind the stage. Let me do something, that helps me build this product versus just, presenting it. Um, Radio, media, jewelry. I scared myself this year and I finally gave in to Sharon Nixon with Baltimore Fashion Week and did Fashion Week. I'm gonna say, and I do stuff like that. I've done stuff similar to that before, but I never put myself out there. I'm a person that loves to support others and love pushing others, but me doing it for me, it was very scary. It was very scary, and I'm glad I took the challenge. I'm glad I finished it and completed it, and it was a tough thing. Moving my studio from one space to another space in the midst of that, um, working with almost 30 models, you know, um, hiring my first real employee this time, and trying to figure all those things out. Um, really examining my relationships, how I treat people, how I show up for people, how I set boundaries for those things to be reciprocated in my life. All those things played a factor this year. So, and me thinking about next year, I'm really just the idea of being adventurous, or that idea of controlled chaos is kind of creeping into my mind, doing things that are unexpected, doing things that are not expected of me, and not just simply proving something to other people, but proving something to myself, and really thinking about what I want. I have a couple questions, though. I do have a couple questions. Marty, are you there?
I am.
I have a couple questions for you. In terms of Be Exposed, where do you see that going 2023?
Hmm. Love putting me on the spot. And these are questions that you should have gave me ahead of time so I could think about them.
Well, I didn't want to do that because that would have been, I didn't want to rehearse answer. Even if it's not something that's, in stone. I just was, and me thinking about what's next for me, the things that I'm connected with. We never think to ask those individuals or to really look at the things that we're connected with. We normally just go based off of what we want.
Well, part of it, I'll say this. Part of it, you already knew that I wanted to take Be Exposed to a more producing production environment. that we want to start producing and filming, the different plays and things like that, and being able to exclusively offer those on our station. So that's still in the works. And then we're going to start doing some more in-person events now. Now that things are open back up, we'll start getting more in-person events. Those are things I'll offer out. So like these plays that are happening right now, I wish we would have been able to probably get involved in those a little bit earlier, but time constraints.
Right.
And then plus we got to host
It's
starting in 2023 too.
It just feels I don't and the last time I felt like this I was 29. And I was pushing the dreaded 30, and I thought life was going to be about Geritol and AARP memberships. And that's what I really thought 30 was. I mean, when you're young, that's what you see 30 is. So 40, 50, 60 is like...
And just like we always thought AARP was for older people, they don't actually have an age limit. It's for everybody.
And that's why I just said that, because I need discounts and deals. Just like the next person.
I found that out. I was like, somebody I know just Greg turned 50. I was like, oh, you turning 50? You can get your AARP card. They can send it to you directly in the mail. And that's when they told me, it was like, they was like, I already have an AARP card. I've been an AARP card since they were 35. So I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that it didn't have an age group. I thought that was for older people.
Because it's typically marketed to
the retirement, the retirees,
right, for retirement. But they have a lot of benefits for younger people as well. But I've really...
I used to always get
AARP. This is how I got into radio.
I used to always get AARP and AAA confused anyway when I was younger.
But that's still
similar, because it's similar.
They are similar, but AARP encompasses all of that.
Right.
AAA is strictly for your car and automobile.
But but AAA has all those kind of discounts that are like similar to them too with other places. You can use AAA membership to go buy something off of Amazon and all that kind of stuff where they give you the discounts.
Yeah, they start. I've noticed they started including that in like their list of benefits, but that's just a bunch of businesses starting to cross promote with each other.
Yeah.
But I remember 29 around the same time, just really trying to think of things that scare me. And I made a list of stuff that I wanted to do at 30 and beyond. And like, I remember the top 3 things was figure out how to get back into radio without trying to work with 92Q again. That was on my list because I just didn't like my experience there. And I had on there go to therapy for the first time. It was a bunch of branch out on my own and do things type of things I put on my list for 30. 40, it's a lot of financial foundation put into that, into my 40s. Relationship, like, in dating, it feels really, I can't even believe I'm saying this because this is what I said I wasn't going to talk about. But getting into the world of dating and trying to figure out your long-term life, because now, we watch so many people die just like that. So you start thinking about your mortality and just life. And I said I would go to the doctors more often. That's something that I achieved, going to my doctors more regularly was something that I wanted to, because when you're 20, you don't have any aches and pains. So I said to myself, like, I want to, if I'm going to get my mental health together, I want to get my physical stuff together too. So that's a lot of stuff that's now also on my 40s list. But I don't even feel like it. Do you feel Did you feel like you were 40? He tried to make people think he's not 40 yet, but I don't feel. Somebody just asked me my age yesterday, and they were shocked that I was turning 39, that I am 39. They thought I was like 35, which is not that much of a difference, but I don't feel like I'm about to be 40. I don't know what that's supposed to feel like.
That's a good question. I don't really. I can't remember. Here's the interesting part. I can't remember because I actually thought about this like a week or two ago, but I can't remember what I thought about as the differences between being in your 30s and being in your 40s. I cannot remember what it was. What I do understand about being in your 40s, these things that you're thinking about and talking about today on the show, you're going to have a different perspective on that in your 40s.
Right.
I have a different perspective on everything. Stuff that I cared about, which is why which is why I haven't done my show in a couple weeks, is because my perspective, how I look at things that are happening outside of my domicile has changed.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
And it's because I look at what I see outside and what I can and cannot change, and what I can't change, I can't care about.
And that's what happened to me with the school system. Like, it's been 3 weeks since I was last in the classroom, and it was frustrating to me that no matter how much I showed up and did what I knew to do, that these children would still come to my classroom every day, and I would have to reset whatever it was that they were learning, or learning at home, learning other classrooms, and nothing was changing. And the frustrating part of that was I stopped caring. And that I lied to you not. That Friday morning when I woke up, if I got up at the same time, the only difference was I texted the principal and let her know that this was my last day. And I asked her, I said, "Do you still want me to come in? Or do you want me to just wait till classes are over and come and get my things?" And I had never been that direct before with what I was feeling. Like, what I was feeling had never been that connected to my feelings, because I try to keep them separately so I don't just make rash decisions. I've learned that at a really young age. My actions and what I'm feeling have to be separated, because I'll make a decision based off of what I'm feeling. And I don't like necessarily doing that because I'm an adult. Homeless don't look good when you're in a, it don't look good at any time. Or not having a job, that's never been something that ever appealed to me. But I understand what you're saying, because I didn't care that morning when I woke up, because it wasn't something that I felt like me on my own could change, because the system has gotten to this space where people don't care.
Yeah.
They don't.
And that's why I can't care, because I found myself caring so much about things that was happening on the outside of here that it was starting to affect me. And then I had an attitude, walking around with an attitude all day. Nothing was making you happy. And then all that kind of crap.
But we talked about that. But
you've actually had a chance to witness what I've been through in this past 2 years with this pandemic. And it came to a boiling point, even with my day job, that, I'm not taking this shit from no one, especially not another Black person talking down to me. No, bitch, I got over 25 years experience to your 4.5 or whatever you want to be as manager. But I've been a manager for 25 of those years.
But that's what I'm feeling. And I remember going from my 20s to my 30s feeling similar things. And that's really why I'm here. I'm on Be Exposed. I'm sitting in a studio space. These were things that I put on that list of stuff that I wanted for my 30s. And I don't feel like I got everything I wanted, but I felt like I at least tried most of the stuff that I if not 90% of stuff that I put on that list. But what has happened, even with politics, I was always civically minded. Like I knew politics, I knew the system. I voted since I was early enough to vote, um, old enough to vote. I always went with my mother when she voted, so but in today's world, I don't care because it's something like what just happened to Marilyn Mosby could happen to somebody who you know is doing the right things. Whereas though I'm at a gala and I'm watching all of these ex-senators
And the fact that she lost her job on the strength of the police. That's the problem that I had with the Marilyn Mosby situation. She didn't lose her job because she wasn't doing her job. She lost her job because she was not.
Somebody else wasn't doing their job.
Yeah, right. She lost her job because she's not a police officer. Now, how much sense does that make when you're an attorney and it's in your name that I'm a state's attorney, that I lost my job because the police can't get the crime rate down?
And the lack of knowledge that the citizens had about
her job, about specific duties of an attorney. But it's an attorney. Attorney don't fight crime.
No.
You know, when you get in a car accident, they not coming to make sure you okay in the car.
Yeah.
They're going to help you get some money after the accident.
And even speaking about her, part of me wished that she would have just stayed in her lane, because she started doing out of her budget for her office. She started doing initiatives to help curb violence, specifically for young people. A lot of the programs that she tried to fund through her own personal budget in her office. And what happened? It backfired. But
yeah, her only job was to actually be the prosecutor of a well investigated charge. That was her job. And who does the well investigations? That is the police and their detectives.
Yep. And people made it her job
to fight crime, as if she was going to be out there with her police hat, and her billy club, making things happen.
And part of me, I get it, because she spoke up in ways that previous state's attorneys never did.
But I dare to say that the things that she was doing was supposed to be more encouraging to the city and not less of a hindrance. Because the only thing that big thing that we can recall is her saying she's not going to prosecute marijuana charges. And that would be accurate. Now marijuana is on the ballot.
But she doesn't get credit for that.
Right.
They wouldn't dare give her credit for that. Now, backstepping a little bit, this totally changing the conversation. What do you think the outcome for Kanye will be?
Well, he'll never be broke. But it's going to be hard for him to recover from
broke
this.
In terms of not what you and I would think of as broke.
Well, he's still worth. I mean, even without those endorsement deals, he's still worth $400 million. He will never be broke.
Right. Right.
He was a billionaire at first, with all his deals equated to being a billionaire. Now he's back to being a millionaire, but it's still 400 million of those millions. So he'll never be broke. But it's going to be hard for him to come back without getting help. But I'm not talking about musically. Musically, I don't think he's going to suffer at all. He'll be able to put out another album and it'll be top #1 and all that kind of stuff. Musically, he's a genius. I'm never going to take that from him. He'll be able to do music and be fine. Now, business-wise is what I'm talking about. He's going to have a hard time acquiring new deals, just like how he went to Skechers and they made him walk right out of here because they're not interested in your crazy. Because that's not good for business.
I think part of it is him getting rid of everybody that's on his team.
And the Jewish comments didn't hurt. That's what this is really affecting, because you got to realize most of those people, most of those businesses are not just ran, but most of the employees in the accounting department, they're all probably Jewish.
That's the problem
that's the part that was offensive, and why most of these people are like, okay, now you gotta come to us, and how are you going to do this? You want us to do business with you while you're still insulting us at the same time.
But I don't even feel they were insulted.
I don't think it was an insult. I think it was just disrespectful.
But it was
the comparison is not the comparison. The comparison to slavery and how Jewish people came back and organized themselves after the Holocaust is not the same thing.
Explain that.
Because theirs was the actual. How did I explain that? We just talked about this yesterday on Chaz's show.
I'm listening.
The difference is between because I gave the difference between the Holocaust and slavery. The difference is that slavery was created by the selling of us to white people to bring over here to build stuff. The Holocaust was just murder.
Right.
And it was a murder. It was a genocidal murder that they were trying to get rid of all Jewish people.
Yeah.
To the point where it was not a lot of them left.
Right.
As you see, that's why I say it was a genocidal murder, where it was only a few of them left that escaped, but escaped with nothing.
Right.
And they reorganized themselves to become a powerhouse in this country today.
Some of his comments, and I'll say, and I'm basing it off of his last comments, the Drink Chat interview that he had. It kills because the people who I see prior to this that are throwing the dirt and pushing him deeper into it are the people that look like us. Now, once he made those comments again, because that's not the first time he made those comments, then they began to retaliate. But nobody thought that when he said, Bush don't care about Black people, but when the narrative switched to them, then that's what the problem was. They were applauding him. They were applauding him when he said that. But when he basically said Jewish people don't care about Black people either, then that's a problem. That's where I had the issue with.
But he made the problem with saying that, though. I mean, you can say that. You can say that. But it can't be all. It also can't be true just because the way they generate their money is better than you.
But I think he,
because I don't know what you want them to care about. What is it specifically that you want them to care about?
And I think if his messaging was more clear.
And I like to use this Park Heights example as a question, as a point. They have their own community in Park Heights. If they didn't want you in there, they wouldn't let you in. That that whole entire subsection of Park Heights Avenue was a whole entire Jewish community, and they got it on lock. And they get mad when you try to be destructive there. But if they didn't want you to come in there, they wouldn't let you in. And there's a lot of Black people, a lot of different cultures that live inside their community too. And it's not that they don't want you around; they just don't want to participate in what you have. And it's not nothing wrong with this.
I think
it's not enough Jewish people to kind of try to ostracize them. Not enough of them.
But
they're just doing better than us.
The problem that I had was I heard what he was saying, and it sounded like that's what his messaging was. But I think had he, taken his medication or, not been on a platform where you're smoking and drinking, and you're.
But they still, and you know what? It's not that they. That's why I say the question is, why should they? What should they care about? Because they are still a minority.
The points that he was making was how they control industries, meaning they can control whether or not he's a billionaire.
We had the same opportunity to do what they did, and we didn't do it. It takes they came back from a situation where they were almost decimated and organized. And they organized themselves to make money, and make money is what they do.
But see that's so I'm not angry with Jewish people having issues with him. I am offended how they decide no more. and then he's gone. He's wiped out. Versus us not knowing we have that same power collectively. And that's the even it was really weird because I listened to that interview several times, but that's what I was getting from it. And even though his messaging was what he was physically saying, I was listening to the intention behind what he was saying. And it did not ring untrue to me. However, I really felt like if we realized the power that we had, we would need a Jewish community to make Kanye or anybody else a billionaire. We wouldn't need it because I see the way we spend money. I see the way we generate success or industries. Look at how many Black-owned restaurants just opened up in this city alone, or Black specific business owners that just started in the last 2 years out of nowhere. These people used to work at Amazon and other 9-to-5, Social Security, post, and now they have their own business. But everybody is disjointed. It's not a collectiveness across the board, like in other cultures, the Asian, the Jewish, the whites. It's not as collective. And that's the issue that's what I took from what he said. I didn't listen to all the ego that was in what he was saying. I was listening to that aspect of it. But even though that's
why I was,
really,
and that's exactly why I was asking the question: what is your specific problem with the Jewish people and how they operate? They offered you.
He thought if he played their game, then he would be successful, and you were.
And you were, and they paid you, and they paid you well. They made you a billionaire. What else do you want? Because they didn't do that for.
But he thought he would get his freedom along with the success. And no.
I think he did have his freedom. You made a whole entire collection of mud.
Yeah, but that's the only thing that he physically owns outright.
That's what I'm saying. He got this option on creativity.
Yeah,
you just can't go around disparaging a whole entire community based on your own proclivities.
But look at all the other things that he also made them billions of dollars doing that he does not own. Like Adidas basically has said they're gonna move on with his designs. And I think that's the part that has some confused because he thought if I'm gonna play the game, just like anybody else thinks. Just like some of the people that are his peers think. I'm playing the game, but they know I got to play this game forever if I want to maintain this. I can't just play the game, get to where I want to get to, and pull out. No, I got to keep doing it, or what happening to him is gonna happen to me. But and I'm watching those types of things happen globally or on the celebrity type of stratosphere. But my thing for the last couple of weeks, I've been watching those same things happen on a local level. And I think that's why my mood is different right now. And I feel a certain kind of way because I've been watching us do the same thing locally. Undermine each other, cut each other out, bash each other. And it happens internally. We can say the Jewish people have done all these things to us, but really it's happening from within. Not to say they don't have any, hand in it, or other cultures don't have a hand into where we are right now, but like you said plenty of times, like you determine your life. And that's true to a degree, but we have to also say it's a reason a big portion of who we are is still here and not much further or much successful, or why it's only one person that can be a success in every field versus all the talented people found in that space. It's just disheartening to me on many different levels that we are in spaces where we can't be collective. That's the part that Like we don't have to. I'm not the person that feel like I have to like everybody or the people that look like me. I don't have to like every person that looks like me. But I don't. I also believe I don't have to hate you either, or I can't work with you, or I can't do this. I've tried to work with several different people, and I just realized I can't because until their mindset gets to where mine is, that's gonna be hard. I was talking to someone before about a certain company that tried to take over Be Exposed Radio at some point, and we laughed a lot because I was giving them the details, and I was laughing. I said because I ended up working with this person, and this person acted as if I was hallucinating to the point where I showed them the emails that were sent to us. And they still deny. I was like, isn't that your company's email address? So was just somebody stole your computer and sent that? But just the idea that you see something that may not be at the top, but you see them, because at that point we had like 20 some shows and like, but you saw that and I mean, who did you think was running that? Like fifth graders? And we were like, oh, that's cool. They're going to buy it from us and let us run it too. Like, but it's still very funny in my head because I can see the misspellings and all that in the hostile takeover letter. But in my mind, I'm seeing how this one black business would try to do that to another black business. They wouldn't go to 98 Rock and do that. They wouldn't go to iHeartRadio and do that. They wouldn't dare do that to another white entity. But they would definitely try to just erase another black platform.
Right.
I'm still laughing thinking about it, but that's just examples. And maybe I'm just a kumbaya type of person, and I feel like we all can make money together. We all can be great. We all can be successful together. And we don't have to treat each other that way. We don't even have to like each other. But just put your attitude to the side for a second, go do the work, recoup your benefits from it, and move on. But a person like Kanye, or similar people to Kanye, because it's not just Kanye, I see that same arrogance in Puffy and Jay-Z and a bunch of other people. People who want to be like them. But at some point, we had to figure out, like, we're giving ourselves our freedom because in his mind, he didn't have freedom. You know, he was given that freedom because he was playing their game. He was making them money. But the moment, because most of them aren't even mad, like I was saying, most of them aren't even mad at him because of what he said. They don't care. They're too rich to care. The people who were offended was below him. That's the people that was really, upset and up in arms about what he said. But they were more offended that the money train was moving. Like he started losing their money. So it really just that was the part that was affected or um by all this. I don't even think people cared about what he said, except for the people who just wanted some talking points on interview shows or something, wanted some ratings. But I don't really think people care. But enough about Kanye. I think he is still very wealthy and still will be very comfortable in his life. Um, this one question keeps popping up for me, like, what are your boundaries? Now, many people don't really know Marnie because he don't give you a chance to know who he is. Um, he don't give you the space to get to know him.
I'm only an
But
open book on Tuesdays at 7 when I'm live.
and you're really not an open book because it's whatever's written on that piece of paper. That's what.
You can ask me a question on Tuesdays at 7. I'll answer it to the best
But
of my ability.
but I always had friends like you that were that guarded and that wasn't even about being private, but that guarded. And I was always the one that was so open and so welcoming and so just open with things that it just would not. I saw it was harmful, so I always would say, you know what, one day I'm gonna be that private. So I began to little by little remove myself from certain things. Um, but I still didn't set boundaries. And in me saying, do you have boundaries? Do you have, and I was asking that to be facetious, but how do you set boundaries for people?
For people. That's a great question.
And it
That
could
is
be friendships, like romantic relationships, co-workers.
well, at this point, Nate, I think you know that I have a low tolerance for a whole lot of things. So it's difficult to even answer that question because of my low tolerance. I'm very upfront. That's one of the things I am. I'm gonna tell you if I'm going to do it, and I'm gonna tell you if I'm not going to do it. So the boundaries is the boundaries is at the question.
Right.
Because I don't know what the line of my boundary is. If I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. If I like it, I might do it. If I like it a lot, I will do it.
So in essence, you really have not set boundaries. It's just
I really have not. I'm a ask me and then I'll make a decision person.
Then I've had to learn how to set boundaries. I was forced to learn because often my kindness has been taken as a weakness. So I've had to enforce boundaries, which makes me always look like the bad guy. And I don't know how some people get away with that, and some people don't have to do those things. And then others like myself, I have to set boundaries because people just think I'm gullible or not very intelligent. And then I have to show them and then set a boundary so that it doesn't happen again. And then I have to start that process with every person. But that was just something that was on my mind this week. And it's really something that I'm in my talk circle that I have that I'm presenting this week. So I'm gonna go deeper into that as we come up next week. But the show is coming to an end. Do we have the Skyline show coming up tonight?
Yeah, they're on their way in.
So we'll be having the Skyline show starting very shortly. And I am very excited about this coming week. As I said, You Thought I Was 10 project will be coming up on November 11th. And we have some really great young men working hard. And I wasn't able to get them this week. This timing was off, but I will have a few of them on next week. And that's the final week before we go into production week. And then the show opens up that following Friday. So I'm really excited. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, you can go to any of my social media pages, or you can go to the You Thought I Was Him page on Facebook or Instagram to be able to see it. And just look out for some more productions, some more products, some more services, all that jazz from the Artist Exchange, myself, Nate. You can follow me on all social media platforms under either Nate Couser or the Artist Exchange. And don't forget, come on out. My new space. I'm over east off of Harford Road, 4709 Harford Road, the Vashon Blue Jewelry Studio. Our website will be coming shortly, but it's one big website. There's going to be a lot of services, a lot of opportunities, and then you can also buy the jewelry, you can watch the shows. It's going to be a lot of interactive things you can do on the website. So I've been steadily working on it. I have a nice partner now that is working on it with me. So I'm really happy to say that there's a lot more progress going on. Shout out to GoDaddy for being a great sponsor to me in terms of supporting me in this process. They have a great package of deals that they have going on right now. in terms of their services. And next week I'll be giving away a GoDaddy card reader. They have these new card readers. I'll show you mine. And they have a really low interest rate on theirs too. So definitely tune in next week. I have some giveaways and such. So, and some other surprises. So tune in next Friday at 5 p.m. This has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on beexposedradio.com. Peace out.